Hey, how's it going? I have some cards and some chat. First, the chat. So, yesterday was weird. I thought that I was getting over the COVID, and I kind of was aware that it's a holiday weekend here in the U.S., but kind of not. Because it doesn't matter, because I'm just off every day anyway because of my health. My health challenges. Anyway, so yeah, I still have the COVID, and I thought on like Tuesday of last week that I was feeling so much better, and I had done a test to see if I could get my caregiver to start coming back. And I failed the test. I flunked it. I still had the COVID. And so, I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. I feel great. And then the next day, on Wednesday, I had like a total relapse or something. Just waves of nausea, dizzy. All I wanted to do was sleep. And I had thought that I was getting over it because I hadn't been wanting to sleep like all the time like you do when you're sick. So I was like, oh, well, that's kind of a bummer. And then the weekend came, and it's like going in and out of sleep. I kept remembering, like, oh yes, Monday's a holiday, and then just immediately forgetting. So here it is, Monday, and I had decided that I would take my last COVID test to see if I could get somebody to come back yet. And then yesterday, I went to sleep in the afternoon. I think it was like 5 when I went to sleep, and then I woke up to somebody just pounding on my door, like a cop knock, and I opened up the door, and it was a cop. And I was like, what now? And because I have something else going on where the police are occasionally showing up at my door, and I'm like, why, you people don't have phones? So anyway, it's just kind of unnerving to have a police officer like at your door and they're looking for you. It has been my experience if they're at my door, they're looking for, it's like the wrong address. So this just feels unnerving. Not that I have anything that I'm guilty of. Anyway, so I open up the door, there's a cop standing there, and I'm like, yeah. And he says, oh, this is a wellness check. We just came by to see if you're okay. And I was like, all right, well, I'm okay. And I had to have sounded more, I can hear how congested I sound now. It was more so yesterday because he had woken me up, and that always makes it sound like my head's in a phlegmy bucket, so yay. But he had to have been able to tell from my voice that I was, like I said, sick. He might have even been able to tell he woke me up, too. I don't know. But he made, like, a pretty quick assessment. He just, like, gave me an up and down, asked me again, are you sure you're okay? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, and I just kept looking around like, what were you expecting? And then he left, and I went back to sleep. But when I got up, I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, who called them? Because my one friend that I was back with after quite some time, there had been a falling out, and I guess I said something wrong, as usual. Don't know what it was precisely, so, you know, and then, like, I'm not getting any feedback about this, but the other thing that makes me think, like, oh, you screwed up is they unfollowed me on social media, and usually, I get, that seems to be the new death knell of relationships, is to unfollow people. I would like if you would talk to me about whatever it was, because clearly something was. And it's not just because of those two things. We had been messaging back and forth, and I sent them a message, like a funny message that I was pretty sure they would like, and then they didn't answer me back. and that happened first, and I didn't trip out about it too much, or at all, really, because she's not like... I didn't expect them to immediately answer me back. I put it there like maybe they will, but because of circumstances, they might not, and that's expected. So I didn't even like really think anything when they didn't answer me back, but it had gone for a while and they didn't answer, and I was like, oh my gosh, I hope they're okay. And then they unfollowed me, and I was like, oh, so that's what that is. All right, okay, well, situation normal. Somehow I screwed it up again, but I don't know. Maybe there's a chance for conversation in the future. I don't know. Like I said, no feedback. But anyway, I mean, I'm not happy about it. I like having this person in my life because we're very simpatico. You know, I don't have to, like, explain myself a bunch. But whatever, she was gone for a while out of my life, so I kind of got used to that, and now there were like these tentative forays into rebuilding our friendship, and I guess I screwed that up now, but we'll see. I mean, I'll just say the situation is fluid on my end. I'm not like set in stone on anything, and I would prefer that we were just still on speaking terms. So anyway, that happened, and then, you know, whatever, time passed, so it's like the evening, hours and hours later, but not as late as this usually happens. I was very surprised. I was sitting in my doorway to my deck, meditating, and the cat was being cool. He was like hanging out on his chair. And then, all of a sudden, 3 raccoons showed up on the deck, and boy, did that get interesting. My cat had to go running outside, and he was, like, trying to fend them off. And there was 3. There are the cubs. I don't know if the mother used to come with them. Maybe she was foraging somewhere else on the property, but it was 3 of the almost, like, they're pretty big now. They've been coming since the springtime when they were... like the size, they were young, but they were the size of like a female domestic cat, like a small cat. Now they're almost full-size adults. Not quite, but I look up and they're coming, and the cat heard them way before I did, so they're having like a standoff, and I open up my eyes to see my cat like all about to pounce, you know, like protecting me, and the 3 raccoons are just off the deck. One's like got a foot on there, wants to really come up because there's cat food and water up there that I put out there for them, and then my cat has food right inside the door, like just on the other, we do a quick U-turn and you're in the cat's food in the doorway, like it's right inside the door. And I did that so he'd stop eating the outside food, but now he has food here in this room too, which is the kitchen. So he's got 2 food places. The 3rd one's not for him. But anyway, I leave food and water out there for strays and the raccoons, or who. Sometimes it's a possum. You never know. Anyway, it was like a little rob mob came up with it. They had their little masks. They're looking at the cat and they're looking at me like they're so intelligent. They're like, doesn't he know this is our food? He does know. I tell him all the time. He doesn't care. He's like, you don't know what you're talking about. All food is mine. No one else should ever touch it or come near our property, which the other cats used to come around and visit. Now no one comes. They don't even come in the area. Anyway, that's not the point. The point was the raccoons were so cute. My cat tried to like start something with one, and I was alarmed because earlier yesterday I had seen a video where the raccoons were not acting the way they do here on my porch, which is they tolerate my cat and like let him win the fights because they're crazy fighters too. Which I saw in that video earlier where it was like, I ain't friends with this cat. I'm kicking its ass. that raccoon sent that cat running, so I was a little concerned. But things held to the normal. Like, my cat got to yell at him and hiss and throw a few paws, you know. And then he turned around and I was like, get in here. And like, he actually came in. So I shut the door and we watched through the glass. And they all just, you know, the one that had been like more confident and kept like coming forward and challenging my cat was already like up on the porch. Like pretty much as soon as my cat's back end was over the threshold of the door, that raccoon was eaten. And they grab like a little bit, and then they go to the water dish and dunk it in the water, and they eat it. So they're like going around, and this is fast. And it's not like I put like a whole bag out there. There was enough for like each raccoon to have like 2 handfuls. They have small hands, so half a cup maybe of cat food. Not that much at all, but they are so fast. And they're all just going and grabbing a handful and coming around and dunking in it. The water was about 3 feet away, so... And they're both, like, right by the door. So it was like drive-in animal movie. It was very cute and very exciting. I don't know. I had a great time. What else? I think that's it. Oh, no, that's not it. Because about the wellness check, you know, after some time passed... There was definitely a time where I would have opened the door and been like indignant, like, why are you here? Like, why are you a cop at my door? But I just didn't have much of a reaction at all. I think because I was sleep stupid still or something. But and he was there. They've all been nice and friendly, actually, so I can't even really bitch at them. They're like apologetic that they're at my door. So anyway, the dude left, and then I was like, wait, he said a wellness check. I'm up here by myself. I've never been married. I don't have kids. I don't have family here. I don't even really have friends except for that one I was just talking about, but she lives like in another town completely, and she wouldn't be here because she's unwell. Like, she just physically isn't up to it. So I would have been very surprised if it was her out there. Not because of what I said before about the unfollowing, because like I said, the situation is fluid, and because I haven't talked to her, I could be completely wrong about all of it, so I don't even know. Not for sure. But the unfollowing... Anyway, who made the call to have a wellness check on me? My neighbor, who actually is the one person here that like checks on me. He has brought me food many times because I guess he just figured, well, he likes to share his cooking, and I make fresh pico and pico de gallo, so I make fresh pico and I give some to him, or I'll make something. He'll give me like applesauce and apple butter a lot, so I'll make like apple tarts out of it and share that back with him, or we just have like a pretty decent friendship. But I had just seen him the day before, so he knew I was okay, so I'm sure it wasn't him. And he's probably... I don't think very many people here would call the cops voluntarily. And like I said, he's the only one here that's friendly, that is just a tenant. And then the manager, I called and told her I had COVID, so she has my phone number. She could just call. So it's just weird, like, who... The only thing I can figure is it was my caregiver agency, but also they have phones. So I don't know who made this wellness check for me. I guess I'm glad somebody cares. I don't know who it is, but thanks. Okay, so I have some cards. I'm just going to read them real quick because I'm actually, I'm bumming. Tomorrow is the real day that I can call the caregiver agency and take the test, but I feel like crap, so... I don't know what to do. I just have one test left, and I don't think you can still send away for some free ones like you could under the previous presidential administration. Dang it. So I'm just kind of reluctant to take that last test, because without a test, how am I going to tell those people at the caregiver agency it's safe to come back? I don't want to lie to them. I'll have to call the pharmacy down the street when I'm done here. Anyway, what was I talking about? I don't know, but I pulled some cards, and so they're from Messages of Cosmic Oracle deck. And the first card is, I feel like a sort of a sign of the times. Okay, too many things at once. Okay, so it's a sign of the times, and like, we have become habitualized to certain behaviors, and so we've endured a lot. Like, it's been kind of terrible. And when I say we, I mean just humans in general, like, under our own each other. Basically, like, we've had leaders that just chew through their people like cordwood. That still happens. Looking at you, North Korea, and that war with Russia and Ukraine. And, you know, that kind of thing. And here in the U.S., we don't get all of the news unless we deliberately go searching for it. But stuff like that happens a lot elsewhere, where the leaders just feel like there's acceptable losses of human life, which, who said it was acceptable? Because I know the survivors of those people, the families and that, it's not an acceptable loss to them if, like, it's the father that was the breadwinner and, you know, there's... Look, people have not been inclined to buck the system. However, it's getting kind of, like, so messed up now, like, in the United States, we're back to confining things to the United States, that, we also are habitualized to having our instant grats and all of our stuff. And so it's kind of earth-shaking that there's this change happening. It's like a massive effect. And the card reads, speak up and speak out. The tariffs are making people's lives miserable here in the U.S. ICE is making people's lives miserable in the U.S. Lying to the public, our politicians rather, lying to us, the corporations lying to us, pharma lying to us. We are, like, sick of that. It has made us bust out of our orbit, the little guy, and we're, like, ready to smack the big guy. We're, like, sick of it. So we're, like, making a smash. A smash. Ooh, a splash is what I meant to say, but it is a smash. Protests. People speaking up. Whistleblowers. Hot mics catching people saying things that point to the truth that everybody's been denying. It's very exciting. So the rest of the card says, let your voice be heard loud and clear. Now's the time. The time is now. Speak up and be heard, or forever hold your peace and don't complain about what you got, I guess. It's kind of a very put up or shut up kind of time. However, I don't mean, like, you know, find your way of making a difference, you know, like, do what you possibly can do. Don't, you know, tie yourself in knots because someone else is doing something you feel is more impactful. The little stuff has to be done too. Everybody has a role in this, and that's something that we have not done in the past, is we have not all banded together in a way where we can make a smash. So this card reads, here, I'll give you a look. I think this sort of spiral action is interesting because it's like a reaction, like a light and dark is meeting, integrating even, and that's a hard one to swallow, I know, because it doesn't look like, it looks like the opposite of integration and like figuring stuff out and getting together. But we got together though with the protests like almost instantaneously, you know, like not fooling around. What needs to get done is getting done. People are showing up in massive numbers. There's nothing that can be come back against that. It's too big, it's too true, it's too real. So the card reads, stop looking outside yourself for answers. You are the answer. So stop looking outside of yourself for the answers. You already know them. And we did know, like we were just holding back because it was easier and things were going better. The things that were bad that probably really did need speaking up about got let slide because just things were just easier. And it's kind of like daunting to think, especially on the personal level, before you can even think of like other people banding together. It's daunting on the personal level when you find yourself in that little me versus the giant corporation or the giant government or the giant group socially, whatever, culturally. You gotta have some pretty big balls, because those two words are just acceptable now, I guess. You gotta have pretty big balls as a single person to stand up to these like really huge and overwhelming forces that you know, like with a gesture or like a finger can change many lives in a good way, which they kind of don't do as much and are much more inclined to do in a bad way, like, you know, lay off a bunch of people or lay off a bunch of vital people. Like this is almost like the COVID situation, and we were firing doctors and nurses and all of the medical people like that. I feel like that's what's happening with the government. Like it's like a surgical what do you call it when you take out an ectomy? It's like an employment ectomy at the federal level. And it's as vital to the running of the country as having like the medical situation like intact. Like you gotta have the doctors, you gotta have the first responders, you gotta have all of the people that do the tests. It's like, take that away and we're gonna be messed up. So I kind of feel like it's very similar with the government right now, taking away services, agencies, employees. It's crippling itself. It's really like, I don't know, self-sabotagey. And I think that's deliberate. But I've made my feelings on why that is clear a couple of times. I think the president is subordinate to another country's president. And what they're doing so reeks of that particular country's type of antics. And we have a history that I am getting the feeling people don't really realize has gone on. I think because it's kind of embarrassing, but there's been a tug of war since the Cold War, since before the Cold War, between the West and the East, in this case, Russia and the United States. Moving on, so here's the next card, and I like the way it shows these two undeniable features of life building, and that is the heavens and the seas, the water and like the minerals and stuff that come from the sky. That between the two sort of build us and all the other living stuff here. There's some other components, but there are two of the big ones. So this card reads, guilt is a normal feeling. Just breathe and let it go. What? Okay, so guilt is a normal feeling. The reason why I mentioned the sort of eternal nature of the skies and the seas is because it says guilt is a normal feeling. So amongst all of this vastness that is absolutely normal is guilt. What are we guilty about? Just breathe in and let it go is what the card says. And that's a good way to deal with a lot of problems I'm finding on the personal physical level, sort of, is breathing. Like, I think we're all familiar with people being like angry and someone's offering them to them, hey, breathe, or count to 10, which for a long time I was like, what the hell is that gonna do? But if you think of it in terms of breathing, if you take 10 breaths, if you just stop and take the time to do that, deep breaths, in and out slowly, as in and out as slow as you can manage if you're upset, it helps. It really does. I think so. Well, it's not just what I think. It's like a physiological fact. Try it. You don't believe me? Try it. But, I think because this guilt just sort of came out of nowhere. Wait, why are we talking about guilt? We kind of let this happen. But we should not feel guilt about it. We should feel guilt about the way any of this is going. And I don't like to be issuing shoulds and shouldn'ts, because I just don't like it when people that don't know me and they're just all, you should or shouldn't do this and that or the other thing. Well, that's your opinion, which you're completely entitled to, but you gotta understand, we each all have our own ways of thinking and ways that we believe things should be. But it's got to be kind of clear on the most basic level that things would just go best for all of us if we made the little bit of effort to get along better. And so, with that in mind, there's also the part about none of this would be happening if all of us didn't, on some level, sort of agree to it. There is a structure for that. It is the pre-birth contract, where impossibly everybody has one, and they do it for their whole life like a blueprint. All of the people you'll ever encounter are going to be included in that. It's so dense with information to explain that, I'm not going to even try. It is easily available. Any word I said amongst anything I said could be a keyword to send you in the direction you want to go if you would like to know more about that. What I'm getting at is, maybe on some level there's a feeling of guilt because maybe we set this up like, we could like crank down the volume a little bit. Too late for that now, as it stands now. We just have to go with the plan under the current circumstances. So it's gnarly, and it's going to even get even more so. But if we're feeling any guilt about it at all, I mean, there's people in positions of power that have done some pretty shady things that we're seeing, like the fringes of this stuff with like the Epstein list or information. And so there might be a feeling of guilt for some of those people on some level because of what went down in that situation, allegedly. I'm just going to say I believe it because I and so many people I know have had too much attention from grown men as young women, or, you know, young girls, actually. Like, the people that are involved with that often refer to the survivors as women, young women, but they were not women, they were girls. So, there could be some guilt maybe about, like, having put that upon all of us, like, oh, maybe that was, like, a little bit much. Like, because it's not new, you know, that sort of treatment of human beings and turning them into objects is not new at all. It's ancient even, but that doesn't mean it's okay. Like, the people that we're calling victims, they were like lured into a trap, an ambush, but then they feel bad, they feel guilty for not having seen what was ahead of them, and, you know, they were totally taken advantage of because they were not able to see the ones that, I guess, fell for it because they had stars in their eyes about the stuff that they were going to get if they just did this thing that probably sounded kind of distasteful and weird, but I don't know, I'm just going to guess they figured it would be over fast and they would get whatever they thought they were going to get, which, you know, I don't know, like, my instincts were much sharper. I had experiences for a long time. I was so glad when I hit the age or whatever it was that it all stopped, because I don't know if men realize this, but when you're a female, and it can start at a very early age, men, grown men, will just be after you and making comments and lewd comments, rude comments. Not that I was some kind of fluffy angel. I'm not even talking about that now, but, like, none of it was like a surprise or anything. But the thing is that strangers, not strangers, family, everybody, from the time that I was about 11 till I was about 20, people were always trying to, like, drag me off somewhere, like, trick me into some situation, trying to, like, touch me or something in a way that I didn't particularly want. Just, like, various ways of being overpowered because somebody wanted to get sexual, and it's like, it wasn't happening on the terms that I would have preferred. And a lot of times I was a child, so it just should not have been happening. That was programmed in, though. Like, at some point I decided I really wanted to experience all of that. But I just wonder, because it's, like I said, it's not just me. It's happened to many, like, over the whole time this has been happening. You feel guilt as the person it happens to, even though there's no reason for that. I have no idea if these people that are so aggressive with young women, young girls, have a clue, like, what they're setting in motion, because it certainly changed the trajectory of the tone of my life. Like, I was not, I don't know, I'm kind of, like, mentally challenged with this stuff. I still will give a person a chance to be awesome before, like, I just expect they're going to be terrible. Unfortunately, there's a lot of terrible column. But, I guess I wanted to experience that, too. I don't know. I'm not like really firm on what that's about. Anyway, let me just move on. So the next card is this here light bulb, and the card reads, "You have the power to create the life you love. Remember that." Well, you know what? That's what's kind of built into the blueprint plan too. Is should you, like, if we were talking about this strictly contractually, like as a contract, should you meet certain stipulations, you'll unlock other somethings. Like, if you thought of it in terms of a video game, you know, more power, more prizes, more lives, whatever it is. And so, we don't realize, maybe some of us, our whole lives, that we actually have power. And we don't even really understand what that means. Like, I've unlocked some stipulations in my own contract where I've become aware of things in a different way than I had previously, because for whatever reason, I wasn't ready to unlock that prize, you know, unlock that secret Easter egg. So, the, you know, level of your consciousness in relation to, like, everything else around you goes through changes in life. And so I am learning, like, kind of about how to sort of steer your life in the direction that you actually want, like understanding how to control energies better, mine, and how they act in relation to the other energies around. And it's a lot about, like, your vibration. And like I said, you like in a video game, you go through, like, these levels, you go through these steps, and then at each step you're sort of better equipped. I'm terrible at video games, so we're talking about somebody that's good at that stuff. But, you know, if you can keep ascending the levels, then you get better at the game of life, let's call it, and then you get bennies, you get benefits from it. Like, it just happens when you steer your life in the most positive direction. Like, if you are a helper of other people, or if you care deeply even about other people, that's like points, I feel like. And so it's like, I think we kind of start out thinking, like, we don't have that kind of control. But if you can look at other lives around you and see that people clearly do. Like, people come from very modest circumstances and then over their lifetime attain great wealth and blah 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 success, which that's been the metric for success forever. I think it's kind of destructive, you know, because then it becomes people striving to get more and more money, and then you got to step on more and more people to do it, and then you have billionaires, and look how that's working out for everybody else. Not great. So, I mean, you can create the life you love, remember that, but is the life you love creating, like, an unhappy life for other people? That's a consideration for me. Like, to have the life I love, everybody's got to be considered and well cared for. Them is my rules. Okay, so here's the last card. Check in with your body and release any tension you are carrying. See that little teeny tiny guy in there? That little teeny tiny figure? It's interesting that this picture with that person is the one they chose for this particular script, this text, because right now there's a lot of, like, it's fast and furious with the lunar cycles, and we're in eclipse season, and those are particularly powerful, like more so than they've ever been in my life, I think, because my level of sensation, ability to sense, is enhanced. Everyone is. And it's crazy that we're getting that particular enhancement when the world is so nut job right now. It's so... I turned on my phone this morning, and I have a routine. I don't turn it on right away. I make sure and wake up slowly, stay in those alpha waves. Usually I can spend time with my cat, which has been getting better and better in, like, communicating with him. It's getting kind of crazy. Like, I can almost just talk to him with my brain right now. It's crazy. But I love it. It's like, wow, I can, like, communicate with this guy. Like, there's more there. Wow, right? But there's a lot happening right now to our bodies. There's cosmic stuff happening from, like, the sun, the moon. I don't even know. And then there's, like, races out there, space races, or extraterrestrial / dimensional people, other races than the ones that are native to this planet, like me. And then they're in cloaked spaceships, you know, out there somewhere. And so they're sending information, various types of love, like, they're sending buffering energies to counteract the effects of all of the cosmic stuff coming in, so that doesn't affect us, you know, too insanely. And then there's all of the stuff that's happening on the planet, but, like, here in the United States, the government is in a bit of a problem. Like, I'm not gonna go into all of that, but I will say that I turned on the phone this morning after I did my routine, and what I saw was a thumbnail that I did not click on that was talking about how Russia, China, and India, and I guess somewhere in the Arab Emirates or something, the BRICS nation, are, like, trying to take over from what has been the way for so long, which was, like, the American way with the capitalism. And so they don't have the status that the United States has had. We no longer have that because it's been getting chipped at and destroyed, sort of, from the inside out. Well, not sort of, absolutely from the inside out. While they're telling you it's the outside in, but it's not. And I started to say this about not knowing our history, but since the Cold War, or before even, there has been this power struggle between Russia and the United States. Like, the United States was popular, it had, like, all this culture coming out of it that the world then also took on and accepted and wanted, you know, and then that just wasn't the case for Russia. And I think it's just, it just feels like pure jealousy. Like, they want to be on top, they want to be the one that everyone talks about, they want to be the place where everyone wants to go. That's what they wanted, but it's like, but you're not like the United States, and that's why it's not that way there. And Russia had a very long period of sort of being on top of the world, if that's your deal, whatever. But they had art, they had ballet, they had music, symphonies. Like, architecture. You know, everybody gets a turn, but not just because, you know, somebody came in and started a war all over you like they're doing to poor Ukraine. Like, that's just ridiculous. And it's so apparent what's happening. Like, the dude wants to reconstitute the Soviet Union. But the Soviet Union fell apart because nobody wanted to stay in it. So, hi, what's the definition of doing something that doesn't work over and over? Crazy. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of competing energies. There's also the campaign for our minds. And that is, you know, other governments, our government, factions of our government, like clashing for supremacy, superiority, you know, of everybody's attention and to run things. And I really would like to see things taken out of the hands of people running it now. Put it that way. In the midst of all of that, we don't all know that this is happening, are being physically upgraded. Our bodies are being transformed or are transforming from a crystalline base to or from a carbon base to a crystalline one. And I mean, it's not you're not sick, but you might feel some symptoms like you're sick from a combination of all of the stuff coming in that I talked about and this transformation. So people that are sensitive to energies from anything from like just you feel kind of a little weird, but you don't know what it is and you don't know why, to an empath, to psychic mediums, like there's a whole range of susceptibility to I don't think that's the right word. There's a whole range of abilities, levels of ability that exist. And I mean, it really depends on the person and their interest, I guess, in learning about that and exercising those abilities so that you can have it more so. But right now, little old us are being pounded by all of this immense stuff, all of these energies coming in from every direction, and it looks like we're tiny and powerless, but we're not, because we have the power to create the life we love. And that is also another source of confusion, turbulence, a lot of things happening at once. And understandably, if you can feel it at all, it feels crazy. But you know what? I think it's survivable. I think that we've any of us that are around still at this point are just gonna hang on and, you know, live to see the next stage, you know? Anyway, I think I'm done. I was just really excited to talk about the raccoons. Have a good Labor Day, people. Thank you and good night.